next time. Where's the dot, boy? Huh?
Creatives, how are you? Welcome back to the Nerd Creative channel. Build the Back to the Future DeLorean Part 6. In this video we'll be completing issue 32 of the build. Here's the magazine, here's the components. Let's have a quick look in the magazine. Another great graphic of the model there. So in this build we have a battery box and we've got a fuel tank. We've got some tabs and some screws. Another great graphic there. And we've got our step-by-step instructions of what's happening. So above the car and underneath the car, we're going to be screwing. The greatest sequel ever told. This is the future and the Old West. And then Hill Valley Preservation Society. Save the clock tower. And then it shows you what's happening in issue 33. So we get a fuel tank bottom plate and battery box lid. It shows you everything that we get in this section. So let's do our prep work. Let's get all the components out of this section. There's our battery box there, and we have some FP screws. We've got our fuel tank, and we have some more screws. We've got some KM screws, and we have some tabs. So let's put all these aside and put our screws away. I'll just double check here that we've got everything that we need. So we've got our battery box here. We've got our fuel tank, which is here. We have three tabs. And we have KM screws and FP screws. We have everything we need for the build. So let's get to the page where we're going to start building. So FP screws. So we've got some FP screws before. Take that card out. Put our FP screws in there. And we've got some KM screws. Now, we haven't had KM screws before. So I've kind of lost where my containers are, so I bought a new one. So this is how they arrive. So they just snap open there. I'll just take one out. Got a brand new set of components for all our screws. Right, so got our KM screws, which are brand new screws. So just double check we've got no KM screws. So we snip the top off there, pour them in there, and then keep our cardboard square, and we'll put some tape on that so we know where all our KM screws are in future. Just stick that on there. So we start off with the fuel tank, flip it over, and we've got to sit the battery pack inside there. And then we've got to feed these wires either side of this column section here and just feed them through And then this section here will sit upwards. There's a little black thing at the top, and that stays at the top, and we've got to feed that through here, this little column section. Make sure we've got it all lined up. It sits just in there, and then these wires, as they come out, there's another column section at the bottom, so they separate out. Let me just get them separated. Just use my screwdriver there just to separate them. Turn them over. Pull them out a little bit. There. And they sit over that column section there and separate out there. So that's how that looks. And this will plug in somewhere, probably on the car. So that's how that sits there. So we need 3 FP screws for this section. That screws out, so we need 3. Let's put the excess ones back. That's our 3 screws there. Let's line our holes up. I'll stand up for this. Pop that screw out a minute. Doesn't seem to want to come out now. Let's just pick it out. There. Line it all back up again. Line up our first screw in the screw hole there. Just going to loosely tighten that so I can line up the other holes. That seemed to have done it. Loosely put that one in, and then the third screw in the front. Just tighten up the previous screws. And the front screw. So that fuel tank there, it's very futuristic that we've got batteries inside a fuel tank. I know, it's not lost on me. So we need to bring the car back to attach the fuel tank to the car. Here we have it, the star of the show, the car. So we're going to flip her over again. This time we're going to concentrate on the front of the car for the fuel tank, which sits over here. It goes this way here, and it sits in here. Let me just flip the car over again. Get the fuel tank in place. I think these cables have to go down through there, and then so let's just have a look. The fuel tank goes in here, there, slots in place there, and then we'll flip it over and we'll screw it into place. So that's our fuel tank in place, and we need to screw it in place with 3 FP screws. So let's get our FP screws out again. So we've got one here. Start screwing that in place. I've got to hold it as well because it won't sit there. That's why I've had to open my screws with one hand. So let's get second one in there, second screw in. It's actually covering a big hole in the main body chassis that's been filled in now. And our third screw, let's make sure we don't get our wires caught up. These screws are going in really well. Swing the camera around slightly so my hand doesn't keep knocking the camera. So those are our 3 screws in for the chassis. For the fuel tank, they're all in place. There's the batteries there, hidden under the car. So what we've got to do now is we've got to get these tabs. I'm going to open them up. I've got 3 tabs. I've got to make sure I don't lose them because we've only got 3 and we need 3. So get our tabs out. And we've got to place them because they're actually going to hold this cable down here. Okay. Yeah, I've got to flip the car around again. Well, actually, you know what? Let me just take these screws out a second. Tell you what I forgot to do is the wire goes over the top of the car, not under the car, so I just need to remove this chassis plate one more time. Yeah, because the underside of the car and the overside of the car do look similar at this stage because they're both the bare bones of the car. So what I'm going to do is I'll just take these out because I know they go in very easily, so I've got no problem there. So I shall take these screws out again, feed the wire over the top, and then I will flip the car over again. Take the chassis plate, the fuel tank out again. Let's get the fuel tank out. there's nothing stopping it from coming out. There we go. Let's get the fuel tank out. And what we need to do is we need to feed the wires through this gap here. Make sure they don't get caught on anything. There. That's it. That's the wires out. We can flip the car back over again. Let's hold the fuel tank so it doesn't move. And put the screws back in. Yeah, that was my bad really. But like I said, the chassis looks quite similar on both sides when you're looking at the step-by-step instructions. So yeah, you can make slight modifications like that and just fix where you think you've gone wrong. So we just attach the fuel tank back in place. There's no problem there. Get this second screw in again. Yeah, these screws go in great. They tighten up and hold that fuel tank in place. And this screw at the front. Just put your finger underneath and just hold the fuel tank in place. I don't really want to cover it with my hand, but it's very difficult. But you'll see when I've screwed it in place. That is the 3 screws for the fuel tank. Now let's flip the car over again. That's what we have now. So that's our fuel tank in place. It's covered a hole there in the chassis body. So what we've got to do is we've got to feed these cables around here. So there's a little nub on one end and a hole for a screw on the other. So we've just got to kind of fit them in. It's going to hold this cable down. It's very fiddly. Let me just see if I can do this. It's very fiddly. Let me just... There, that's the first one in place. We need to secure that with FP screws. So let's get a screw in place. Let's make sure that's all lined up. It's very fiddly, I should say. Stand up here, just make sure I can see the hole. So that's the hole there. Lining our screws up with the hole. Not an easy task. Let me see if I can do it. If the screw's on the screwdriver, as the screwdriver is magnetic, let's just... That screw's gone. Let's try again. It's very fiddly though. Let's see. Let's get this screw in place. It seems to be going in. I might just straighten up a bit more, because I don't think it's fully going in. Let me just... Let's put this back. Just make sure we're lining it up properly. Oh, that's better. Right, the next one. Next one is here. So the nub goes on the opposite side. There. And get the screw in. Yeah, it's quite fiddly, but we'll get there. Let's get the wire in place, get the nub in place, the tab, and then hold it over the hole. There we go. You can just place the screw in there. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't want to play ball, but let's try again. You know what I'll do? I'll put the screw into the hole. Seems like a better idea. I think because it's not screwing through the plastic, that's the problem. So let's screw it into the tab there, and that will make it easier because there's two nubs then. Okay, we're lined up. Yeah, it's kind of in as of a sorts. Just the last one. Our last tab to put in. See where that tab went. Oh, there it is. The last tab to go in place is down here. So we feed our wires. So I'm going to put the screw into the tab before I place it, because the screw's it seems to be very fat. The screw's very fat compared to the hole that's there. So just going to give it a little bit of a screw in. So let's feed this cable through these 2 points. Put the nub in place. That's in place. There we go. That's our cable underneath the car. I'm not sure what it attaches to. I don't think it attaches to anything just yet. It'll just sit like that. So I'll have it like that. So, yeah, that's where we are now. We have our fuel tank in place. We have our battery pack in place. We have our cable running from the battery pack to the front of the car, to the back of the car. So it probably would be the rear lights, possibly. So there we are. That's all finished. So in the next issue, we will have the fuel tank bottom plate and the battery lid in issue 33. So that finishes issue 32 of the build. So let's put that wheel back up there. I'd like to thank you for your company. I'll see you in the next video. Stay creative.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?